Hey guys, it's Max. I have a kind of what I hope will be a fun one planned for you guys today. I'd like to talk about options, as you know, but more specifically, probability and how they kind of go together and all that good stuff. I like to take a probabilistic view of everything. I've always been an option guy, of course, but I've been raised on a steady diet of Walter Cronkite nightly news. I've been raised on a steady diet of big corporate media fake news. Of course, I didn't know it was fake news at the time. But in any event, I've always been a big current events guy. I was even a political science major and a history minor in college. And I've always been fascinated with odds and with stuff like that, and with games and game theory and stuff like that. Always loved it. My family, we used to always play Monopoly and gin rummy and all that kind of stuff. I just grew up on that kind of stuff. Poker, of course, dice. So we're going to talk probability today, but we're going to do it around current events. And we're going to mix in some options. I'm even going to talk about some option strategies. So I'm going to talk about how to arbitrage the presidential election, how to bet on both sides, or to make not bet, that's the wrong word, but how to allocate an investment to both sides that should have a favorable outcome in either instance is the better way to say that. But we're going to look at the prediction markets, which you can actually open an account at Polymarket, or there's another one called Predicted. And you can actually bet with real money in these. And these prediction markets have what's called a binary option. And I'll explain what that is, but they're option contracts as well. Okay. A lot of you guys probably know what that is, but all my people on this station are really smart. Okay, but so here's what we're going to do. So you guys will eat this up. Okay, so I'm not going to be political or whatever. I'm definitely not for Trump, but I'm not against him either. It's just anyway. So here's the pro-Trump trade, but I'm not recommending this. But we're going to call this the Dark MAGA spread. Okay, I'm going to show it to you in a second, but it's going to be a 2-by-1 ratio spread. It's going to have uncapped upside. It's going to have asymmetry and convexity. And we'll talk about what those both mean in option strat. And then I also have a MAGA curious trade, which is a little bit more conservative. And we'll look at that too. It's the Dark MAGA spread has uncapped upside. So if DJT short squeezes and goes to, some crazy high number, you'll make additional money on this spread, where you stop making money at some point on the MAGA curious trade. Anyway, like I said, I hope you guys like this. Let's get in the middle of this. Okay, so let's start with Dark MAGA first. Okay, so here's Dark MAGA. So what we did, this is a calendar spread. Very simple. That whatever's below the line is the option we're selling. So we're going to sell one contract here, and we did yesterday at 428, and we're going to buy a 40. So we're selling a 40 call that expires right after the election. And then we're buying a 40 call that expires another week after that. It's just so we're long and short at the same time. But here's the thing: we're going to take two longs out. Okay. And we're only selling one to pay for it. But that's fine though. So the cost is going to be about $532 risk. And we're aiming pretty much for 40. If DJT goes to 40, this will be worth at least about $579. If it goes to 40 on increased volatility, is what I'm imagining it would happen if he wins, it might be worth $900 or, end up. And if, God forbid, if this stock short squeezes, it could be worth a lot. Anyway, that's Dark MAGA. Okay, not recommending that. If I had to do one, I would do this one. This is more like Dark MAGA. I might do Dark MAGA. If I hedge Dark MAGA, I would hedge the shit out of Dark MAGA because it's a lot of risk. I'll just show you in a second. But this one, if you just had to take one trade, to me, this is a better. It's also, you could also call this a pro-Trump trade or whatever. But it's the same trade except the strikes are offset by one, and it's not a ratio. We're selling a 40, buying a 39. Okay, so what this does is this gives you This gives you a profit loss graph like this gives you a profit loss graph like that. Now, the thing is, so there at some points you don't make any additional money on the upside. And, you know, if it keeps going up, you'd be mad if you did this spread. You wished you would have done the other spread. Hopefully it won't go to 140 in one day. You'll get a chance to roll. But what you're aiming for on this one is to get to election day or right after election day, or maybe probably right before. You're aiming to get probably right on election day. If we're in the range from 35 to 50 on DJT, this trade's worth profit, you know, between $180 and $242 on $85 worth of risk, you know, so not a bad trade either. So that's MAGA curious. So that's going to be our DJT sleeve of our freaking, you know, that's the DJT portion of our deal. Now look at this. So here's what we're going to do for Kamala. We need to talk about Kamala. All right. Trump is stomping Kamala in Polymarkets, and he didn't used to be. Kamala was ahead and has been ahead for a long time in Polymarkets, but lately he has just been sticking it to her. It was even for a while, or she was up for a while, then it was even for a while. Then he was up by 3 or 4. Then just yesterday he went up by 11. He is just stomping it to her. It's 55 to 44 at Polymarket. Okay. What that means, though, let's say that means you're getting better odds on Kamala. You have a chance to buy the dip on Kamala. And I'm not recommending that. I'm not for her. I'm definitely not for her. Not really against her either. But you know, I'm not recommending it. But if a person were for her, compared to a few days ago, she has a lot better odds, because this is the way a binary option works. You can buy her at 44 right now. And if her option cashes, or, you know, it would mean she would win the election, the option either goes to 100 if she wins or 0 if she loses. So it goes from 44 to 100. So it's like buying an option for $4.40 and then selling it at 10. You just made $5.60 on $4.40 risk, right? You risk 44 to win $100. Now on another service, she has a 48% chance, but obviously you would if you wanted to play Kamala, or you're trying to do this, you would play her on Polymarket. Those are pretty good odds, and so that the better her odds are, the more heads you can get for your money if you're trying to do this Dark MAGA trade. So I'll show you here that in a second. So let's look at Let's look at the two services. Here's Predicted. It has the Republicans at the same, but it has her at 49 instead of 44. It's a big difference. I mean, this one says Democrat. The other one says her name. Maybe people think she's going to get pulled. I mean, maybe she is going to get pulled. Hey, I don't know. If she keeps getting spanked this bad, oh my gosh. Politics and current events is fun. Like I said, I've always been into politics, especially conservative politics. Ronald Reagan got me into it, but you know, and I've been into it ever since, off and on. Hey, okay, but so you know, the only good thing about this is, like I say, if you're a Kamala fan, you could buy the dip. So here is the arbitrage. Here's the delta neutral play. Okay, so the Dark MAGA delta neutral trade is, so this would also be for people that not only are pro-Trump, but you think Trump's going to win. Because if Kamala wins, this trade just breaks even. There's no bonus if she wins. So it's not like you can win in both directions. We could have probably structured it that way, but on this one, you only win if he wins. Okay, if she wins, you break even. So what you would do is you would bet 440 on her at the betting markets. If she wins, you would make 560. You would win $560. Well, but you're going to bet 540. The Dark MAGA spread costs 539 or something. So you would end up making, well, if she wins, you would end up making $20, right? If Kamala wins, you make 560, but you lose 540. That's easy. It's a little harder to figure out on the Dark MAGA spread. But you would make around between 640 and 1,000, depending on what volatility is doing. If DJT hits 40, right? So that 640 would offset this 440, and you would end up making 200. So it's actually, you're actually trying to make 200 if Trump wins and trying to lose nothing if Kamala wins. Now, there's caveats to that. The caveats to that, what you're really playing for is, yes, if it goes to 40, okay, here's volatility right here. There's no way it's going to, if it goes up and Trump wins, it's going to be probably heightened volatility. I'm just almost positive of it. So, volatility up here, you really probably make more like 800 or 900 on this spread. But what you're really hoping, sometime between now and the election that this thing gets short squeezed. And it probably already is short squeezed, but gets short squeezed more than it is. Let's pull it up real quick. I mean, it's in the middle of a short squeeze. And of course, there is the possibility that Trump wins the election. So the Kamala bet loses. So you lose that $440 bet. And this company, the peters out, stays the same. You could lose 440 and you could lose this 530, whatever it is. Oh, that's 530. Yeah. You could easily lose both, or not easily. I think it's an outlier, but I mean, it is something you should be prepared. Your total risk in this thing's 900, but you're really looking for 200 plus in a Trump win, because you're hoping for, heightened volatility plus maybe a short squeeze higher to 50. If you get to 45, you have a 4-figure payday. I mean, if you get it to 95, but the short squeezes, these meme stocks do crazy stuff. It wouldn't be crazy for it to go up there for one day or something around the election. You get it up there, it's a $5,000 payday. So that's what you're really playing for. But you can kind of hope for that in the back of your head, but do it without much risk. Because if this all peters out and falls apart and this stock goes to zero and, and she wins or whatever, you'll at least get your money back. So it's like a free shot at a really potentially profitable play if this thing keeps going, right? Anyway, that's the way I like to look at stuff. Always try to keep my upside uncapped where I can, but try to do it in a responsible way. Try to sell something else to pay for it. The reason this trade works is because this 40 call is so overpriced relative to the ones that expire after it. The before the election stuff is crazy compared to the stuff that expires later. So that's why it works for that reason. It also works because there's free commissions. This kind of stuff never used to work before there's free commissions and tons of liquidity. I mean, I used to dream of doing trades like this. Whenever I was helping other people in the 90s managing wealth, if I could have done trades like this for people, it would have been awesome. Of course, when I was managing wealth, I'm not going to put them on a freaking Dark MAGA YOLO. This is definitely a Dark MAGA YOLO. This has nothing to do with allocation, right? This is fun money only. Like I said, it's $900, $1,000 risk. So only with the same type of money that you would go, and play craps with or whatever, that type of money. This is entertainment money. But this could be, elections are turning into pop culture anymore. And this could be entertaining for you if the stock short squeeze and you make $2,000, that it could be entertaining for you. But at the same time, if Kamala wins, it looks like you should be covered for the most part. All right. Well, I hope you guys like this. Let me know if any of you guys use the prediction markets. I'd be interested to see. Now, I use them every day. Look at them. I've never made a bet on one of them because I just like to play options. There's too much stuff to play options. But I heard the CBOE has a prediction market. I've heard the prediction markets are the wave of the future and stuff. But in any event, I think it's really interesting. And if nothing else, it's just a good chance for us to look at probability and maybe try to construct a fun trade, right? This is just a fun trade. Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys very much. You guys have a wonderful day.